How do you treat yourself compared to how you treat others? That's an interesting question. A lot of people struggle with that actually, because a lot of people have been taught to treat themselves worse than they treat other people. It is highly rewarded in our culture to be selfless versus selfish. So if you do something for yourself, or if you care about yourself, then you might have been called selfish. A lot of parents raise their children to be selfless and to be obedient. So when you grow up, you may have problems with self-care and self in general, having a connection with yourself and taking care of yourself compared to taking care of others and neglecting yourself. Now, why is that? Why do people have problems like that? So, one problem is that when you were a child, you didn't learn how to take care of yourself. So as an adult, you have difficulties taking care of yourself. You may have poor self-care or tendencies to self-harm. So if other people that you were dependent on when you were a child didn't love you, didn't teach you how to be self-caring, because if they don't care about you, they don't love you, then you don't learn self-love and self-care, and you grow up as an adult who have difficulties taking care of themselves. And problem number two is that you were taught to take care of other people's needs, mostly your caregiver's needs, because you were small and dependent and had no choice. You couldn't escape, you couldn't protect yourself, so you had to comply. And also you didn't want to risk losing your caregiver, so you learn to take care of their needs versus your needs. So when your interests clash with your caregiver's interests, either real or perceived in your mind, you may have a tendency to neglect yourself. So those two problems combined, they create various difficulties in your adult life. And the question that I raised in the beginning of the video, do you treat yourself worse than you treat others? Or how do you treat yourself compared to others? Is it worse? Is it better? For many people it is worse. And some people don't even ask this question. So when I ask this question, they feel surprised because they never thought of it. Because when I ask them, would you treat another person like that? Or how would you react if some other person were in your place? Especially if I give an example of a child. So for example, if a person is self-attacking, I might ask, okay, do you think this is helpful? How would you help a friend of yours in a similar situation? Would you treat them the same? Would you get angry at them and blame them and be inconsiderate of them? Or maybe there are some other ways how you can approach the situation. For example, with empathy and curiosity. Maybe asking them, how do you feel? What's going on? Do you want to talk about it? That's empathy and curiosity. So if you wouldn't do that to a friend of yours, why are you treating yourself differently? Or why do you treat yourself worse than that? And if you imagine a child, that even makes things more evident. You wouldn't yell at the child or call them names, but a lot of people call themselves names and yell at themselves internally and beat themselves down and criticize themselves unjustly. and just harm themselves or neglect themselves. So my point is that the principle that you apply to your relationships, and if not, then why? Why does it only apply to you? And maybe there are some other ways how you could be more productive with that. First thing is of course awareness that maybe this is happening, and the second step is to do something about it. So if you recognize that you may be prone to that you do this sometimes, first own it, that this is happening, and secondly, you can do something about it. As I've mentioned, there are ways how to approach the situation. You can imagine yourself in the third person, that you are approaching somebody else and trying to help them. How would you approach the situation, especially if you are approaching a child? And you can apply the same technique towards yourself. And also in general, developing more self-empathy and self-curiosity could help greatly. Of course, you can do that by resolving your trauma, and also by practical means that I've already mentioned. So, are you treating yourself good enough? What is good enough? Do you treat yourself worse, better than other people? What does it mean to be selfish? What does it mean to be selfless? These are important questions that maybe you might want to sit down and answer for yourself. I hope that was helpful. Best of luck with answering those questions. See you.